Hello there, and welcome back to Writing from Scratch with me, Tom. Today I wanted to make a video about the 3 biggest challenges that I faced in my first year as a writer. Let's get started. Let's start with the big one. For all writers, and for me since day one, writer's block has been the biggest obstacle that I've had to face in my journey to become an author. Now, this isn't unique, this isn't original. Almost every single author in the world at some point will experience this problem. For me, this has been a consistent problem since day one of writing. And it's been a big challenge for me as I want to write. I want to continue my story and I want to develop my characters, but ultimately I've been frustrated by myself and my own inability to do that. In the future, I'm going to make a bigger video discussing some more comprehensive solutions to writer's block that have been made by better and stronger authors than myself. But for today, I just want to offer 2 little tips that I've come up with that have helped me mitigate some of the problems and challenges that I faced when encountering writer's block.
First, I simply force myself to write. This can be uncomfortable and tricky, especially when you're not sure where the story is going. But I found that if I push myself for 20 minutes, some of the fog will clear, and I'll write a good amount. It may not be my best work, but it's better than nothing and gets the creative juices flowing. I can always come back and edit things that I'm not happy about later. Which comes to the second point. I spend time going through my story so far, even if I'm not adding new content. This is great as I'm able to edit and be productive while not producing more. But for me, I found that rereading what I've already got down helps me find inspiration of how to continue. Maybe I've dropped some hints or foreshadowing in the early chapters, and that reminds me where I want the story to go.
The second challenge is perhaps maybe a little bit more surprising to some people who are just starting on their writing journey, but I'm sure is not unfamiliar to many people involved in the creative industries out there. This is a lack of confidence. I've spoken to many of my artistic and writing friends, and they've all expressed that there's this constant disappointment and disapproval of one's own work, that you never really feel like it's quite good enough, and that you're shy to show it to other people, or even tell people that you're trying to become a writer. This is something that I've struggled with over the last year. I'm pretty confident about my own ability and skills, but truthfully, I'm not very confident about the work that I've produced. Part of the point of this channel is to share my work and some of my experiences with other people to help them find the confidence to engage in a creative industry, whether that's writing or anything else. But to overcome this problem of having a lack of confidence, I found a couple of solutions that have helped me feel a little bit better about the work that I'm producing.
First of all, I have a group of people who I trust and have read my book so far. The feedback I receive is often positive, but there is some critical feedback too, which is all very, very valuable. This all helps me remember that I'm on the right lines and that there are positive aspects that I sometimes overlook or forget. It can be a little bit difficult to open yourself up to feedback and criticism, but for me it's a very important part of my process and for increasing my confidence. Secondly, I have to remind myself that writing a book is a process, and that it might never be perfect in my own estimation. Instead, I should keep my sights on achievable goals, like being at least entertaining or marketable or interesting. These are modest goals that lower my grand expectations for myself and allow me to plow on with more confidence.
The final problem is something that I've spoken about before. And this has been a consistent problem again since the beginning, no matter how hard I try to reduce the effects of it. And this is time management. Time management has been a problem for me from the beginning. And even though I consider myself a very disciplined person who's quite good at managing their time and being flexible and fitting in all the activities that I want to achieve, this has still been something that I've struggled with when writing my book. This is something that has become increasingly challenging the further into my book I've gotten. The more my story has evolved, the more narrative threads I've developed, the more characters I've introduced, the more I have to keep track of in my head, and the more that I have to edit, has all made managing everything that little bit more difficult. Time management is something that I've really tried to stay on top of, but ultimately it has been a big challenge, even though I've been reasonably successful at managing my time. So I want to share a couple of extra tips that I didn't mention in my previous video to help you if you're struggling with time management when writing your book.
First, it's important to schedule just a little bit of time for writing every week. Even if it's just 30 minutes, I make sure that I do it. It requires discipline and taking responsibility for myself, But that's the biggest trick. You'll never write a book if you can't be disciplined and take control of your time, and put time aside for writing and make sure that you stick to it. But secondly, I found that it's also important to give myself a break. Any schedule that I make to write, I will do everything to keep it. But then I also make sure that there are times when I don't schedule anything. This makes sure that I don't make writing a negative experience or a stressful one either. This makes sure that I pace myself and ensures that I enjoy writing without it becoming a stressful or tiresome activity for me.
So these are just some of the challenges that I've faced as a writer in my first year. There have been others, but I think that these three are the biggest. Like I mentioned, in the future I'm going to make a full video about writer's block, and I've also made a video previously about time management as well. If you're interested, I might consider making a video on how to deal with a lack of confidence in your own work too, but to be honest, this is something that I don't feel particularly confident or experienced with, so I might hold off on doing that video for a little bit later. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining me on today's video. I hope it's been useful in giving you some solutions if you're facing the same challenges that I am. Thank you very much, and please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing the video with your friends because it really helps the channel grow. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.